So far, XRP Ledger has been focused more on, let's say, payment solutions for businesses or institutions. But right now, they're making a move. And what is very important right now is that there's a lot of dormant capital sitting at all those CXs. XRP's market cap is hitting above $100 billion, but only a few tens of $1 millions are actually available on XRP Ledger right now. So the rest is actually outside of XRP Ledger. So all those money, all that money is actually available for us to do something about, right?
Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. This is going to be part 2 of the previous video breakdown, where in part 1, we were showing you guys undeniable proof that the narrative of DeFi being a scam is outdated and that institutions are, for a fact, entering into this space while retail is stuck in past cycles. We heard directly from smart money market participants where things are headed. And so in today's video breakdown, part 2, we are going to dive into one of the biggest unlocks in XRP history. The shift from idle holdings to active yield generating strategies is taking place at a very rapid pace. If you're still letting your XRP sit idle, or still in this mindset that your XRP is just going to sit idle for the next 5 years and eventually you're going to sell it for some high-end price, you are missing the utility wave that is about to hit. So let's jump into part 2 of today's video breakdown. Welcome back to the CYPRX platform. We do appreciate the love and the support. We're going to start it off here with the post that I started the last video breakdown with. Pause this video if this is the first video that you're watching and go back and watch the first portion of today's video breakdown. And so that way you guys can see that institutions are the one telling you that now's the time to shift that mindset. So that way you guys don't think we're just making it up out of thin air. You guys can hear directly from industry leading experts in this space, showing you guys panel discussions and video clips directly from the horse's mouth. And again, if you guys want access to any of that detailed research, head over to CYPRXtrading.com. There's literally hundreds, if not thousands, of non-mainstream related crypto and Web3 research that you guys can find in the CYPRX Discord. I cannot stress enough, now's the time for good education, good information, and you do not want to be distracted by retail people on the internet with opinions that don't matter in this space. Starting here, I said, we are no longer just in an era of knowing what you hold. We are entering into a new financial paradigm where it's about how you make what you hold work for you. Day trading and chasing price projections, that is an old playbook way of thinking. The new era is about asset productivity, automated yield strategies, and sovereign financial control. With tools like Flare's F assets, FXRP, STXRP, your XRP can now be staked, it can generate yield, and it can be reused across different DeFi protocols. This is no longer just holding. This is deploying capital intelligently. This is the DeFi evolution. And so one thing that I want to mention before we jump into this, actually, I'll start with this. Firelight, only an hour left. They posted this a second ago. It's actually going to launch in about 20 minutes, where we're going to be able to sign up for pre-access to their Firelight protocol, where we're going to be able to test out their platform for this liquid staking feature that they are offering to XRP holders, both institutional and retail investors. But that is not what today's video breakdown is about. What I really want you guys to focus on is this whole narrative that ETH is in the number 2 spot. ETH is worth thousands of dollars, and XRP's price action has pretty much lack thereof, according to the retail mindset, over the past consecutive couple of years. Well, why is that? Has anybody been able to really provide documented proof as to why that is? Here in the CYPRX community, one of the primary reasons we try to get people to see that XRP's price has been lagging in terms of the retail perspective of a high-end XRP price compared to the actual price action is because of the lack of activity in the DeFi ecosystem. Where right now, if you go over to the total market cap on XRP and you look at it, ETH right now is sitting at $367 billion in total market cap. XRP is sitting at $177 billion in total market cap. However, if you go and you look at the DeFi ecosystem on both Ethereum and the XRPL, right? Ethereum's market share for the total value locked in DeFi sits at $74 billion. Okay. If you come over to DeFi Llama and you type in XRPL or Ripple, You can see that on the XRPL, according to DeFi Llama, now this is probably going to shift a few $1 million to the up or downside because there's a couple of different protocols that are not tracked by DeFi Llama. But right now, the total value locked in the DeFi ecosystem on the XRPL is only sitting at a mere $79 million. Now, could you imagine, considering that the market cap for XRP is sitting at $177 billion today? Imagine if just $77 billion of that money in XRP's market cap went from sitting idle on centralized exchanges and in cold storage wallets to active DeFi yield generation strategies, the amount of demand that that would bring for the price of XRP. So, again, just to consider that, take Ethereum's total value locked in DeFi and you add that to the XRPL. That is huge. And that is what's coming. And I don't think people truly understand the utility wave that is coming for XRP holders. Don't take that from me. Take that from industry leading experts in the space that are building, that have been telling you guys this since day one. Take a second here and listen.
So far, XRP Ledger has been focused more on, let's say, payment solutions for businesses or institutions. But right now, they're making a move. And what is very important right now is that there's a lot of dormant capital sitting at all those CXs. XRP's market cap is hitting above $100 billion, but only a few tens of million dollars are actually available on XRP Ledger right now. So the rest is actually outside of XRP Ledger. So all that money is actually available for us to do something about, right?
So a lot of people in the XRP army don't really talk about this because they don't really truly understand the utility layer that DeFi brings to said digital asset. DeFi adds an extra layer of utility to these digital assets that previously did not exist on the XRPL and is now being unlocked for the first time ever. And so many people are not paying attention to it because they've been manipulated into believing that DeFi is some scam because of past market cycles. However, in the first portion of today's video breakdown, you guys have now heard directly from industry leading experts that actually move these markets in this space tell you guys that that is the farthest thing from the truth. So make sure that you guys are focused. Make sure that you all are educating yourselves because we are seeing this transition happen at a very rapid pace. So we're going to come over here, shout out to Thanos on X for this post where they said, it baffles me that XRP is so liquid and the yield delivered on it is still zero, which is a fact. That is all about the change, but we need to be mindful of how this transformation is going to come so fast. It's going to hit so many XRP enthusiasts and knock them off their feet when they realize for the past year, 2 years, 3 years that they've been holding this digital asset heading into, like, let's say 2028, the whole entire time they could have been earning 3%, 6%, maybe even 10% yield on their XRP, accumulating and stacking more while they hold, waiting for some high-end price. Top 3 crypto tokens with 24/7 trading, and it is sitting there unused. Untapped potential that will be unlocked by Flare networks. There's many other protocols and networks that are also going to unlock DeFi opportunities, but in this case, we're utilizing Flare as an example. So take a second and listen to this Flare community call, a June recap as to what is coming with a couple of the different industry-leading experts from the Flare ecosystem. Take a second and listen to this 1-minute video clip.
How or why is this possible? Well, if you think about capital as a whole within finance and DeFi, there's really this thing that sticks in most financial managers' minds, which is the risk-free rate, right? So when you have the US dollar and you're looking at yields and you're like, well, this specific stock can return me, let's say, 6%. But if the treasury yield or the risk-free rate, which is generally the 10-year treasury, is returning you 4%, your risk to reward ratio is essentially you're only earning 2% over the specific treasury or the 10-year. Right? With XRP, there is no risk-free rate, right? You're simply just holding the asset. So the hurdle rate all of a sudden is 0%. Today, no one earns anything on XRP. So when you introduce yield to it, there's essentially a competitive barrier that we have for percentages that we're willing to deliver back to XRP that functionally any other assets in crypto generally don't have, especially if they have native staking. Right? So if you're deploying ETH today, or you're deploying Solana today, there's a set amount of staking yield that you earn. So if you're deploying it anywhere as a capital asset, you have to earn at a minimum that staking rate or more, right? With XRP, there is no staking rate. It's just zero. So all of a sudden, we're unlocking a capital asset that has a risk-free rate of today, which is zero, right? Obviously, to earn some yield, there's risk involved, right? Like there's some risk, but obviously you can hedge those things, etc. But nonetheless, that's generally how I think about Flare.
One key takeaway I kind of want you guys to gather from that is how he mentioned that right now XRP lacks competitiveness in terms of yield generation. Well, if you guys remember in part one of today's video breakdown, this lady from Alluvial, the CEO, where she mentioned that industry leading experts, organizations, ETFs, wrappers in this space that don't provide staking, they're going to lack competitiveness, especially in the United States.
It feels like we're in a very different universe now than where we were maybe even a couple of months ago. And I think that's ultimately going to be a good thing, right? To unlock, participation. If you think about it in some ways, market participants that are unable to offer staking inside of their products are not going to be rendered competitive in the global sort of landscape of things, particularly if you think about them already offering services like holding their crypto, using their crypto to support network security, and then also being able to earn rewards on it. Kind of starts feeling like table stakes in terms of the services that I think we'll start seeing a lot of these market players offer.
And so just understand that now that landscape is shifting, where now institutions and retail investors alike are going to be able to generate passive rewards by holding their XRP. Flare isn't just for institutional XRP holders like Vivo Power. In the previous video breakdown, we also touched on Vivo Power, a publicly traded company focused on XRP-centric treasury strategies. Today, announced, this is back from a couple of weeks ago, the launch of a definitive partnership with Flare to generate yield on its digital assets with a $100 million US investment. This is again all happening at a very rapid pace. It is also now powering platforms like Uphold that serve millions of everyday active XRP users. With Flare's yield strategies, they can offer simple opt-in XRP staking, no DeFi expertise required. That's the kind of simplicity that we are aiming for. Take a second and listen.
Delivering. So not only are we speaking to institutions, we're speaking to institutions that hold assets on behalf of retail and people that are using it every day. So there's a bunch of different angles that we're going, right? Ultimately, the core piece is delivering yield back to users that are holding XRP today. There's a variety of ways that you can do that. Firelight, kind of how I think about it, is that first stop for many people that want to set and forget, and then there's active strategies that you can run from there, right? So there's a few different active strategies that we've been thinking about that you could run. There's like synthetic longs that you can have to hedge the position and then like borrow against the XRP and then run some delta neutral positions. There's a bunch of different ways that you can run, let's say, financially engineered strategies that can deliver extra yield back, let's say, past Firelight. But how I think about Firelight is that it's going to be a revenue positive business that simply delivers revenues back to XRP holders.
One of the key takeaways I want you guys to gather from that little tiny clip is that he mentioned financially engineered strategies. That is the future that we are headed into. And here in the CYPRX Wealth 28 Club, that has been our focus for the past year. Participating in these financially engineered yield generation strategies, recording our entire process of how we are doing so, and giving you guys visual access to that entire log of content. If you guys want access to that, head over to CYPRXtrading.com, tap into the Wealth 28 Club. We would love to have you on the team. Our focus for the next maybe like 6 to 8 months, especially as DeFi primitives ramp up on the XRPL, is going to be exactly that. Putting our idle XRP to work. Over the past year in the Wealth 28 Club, we've been focusing on other digital assets and putting that liquidity to work. However, now that DeFi primitives are becoming available to us as XRP holders, we're going to start testing these platforms. We're going to start recording it, and we're going to start showing the world how we can get our digital assets to work for us. Again, tap in with that movement. Now is not the time to ignore your education. You do not have to go out there and deploy your hard-earned capital in the DeFi ecosystem to learn. You can watch us do it. You can gather notes. You can look at our mistakes, our trials, our tribulations, and you guys can educate yourselves. I cannot stress enough that now is the time to do exactly that. As always, many blessings to you guys. Be cognizant. Please be aware out there. Make sure that you guys are doing your research and you're paying attention to industry-leading experts whose opinions in this space actually matter. And with that being said, do me a favor before you hop off here, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video breakdown. Hopefully, I will also see you guys in the private CYPRX community.